Good evening and welcome to the Return Homestead. My name is Mike and my wife Marty and I homestead 50 acres in southeastern Kentucky. Today we don't have any specific projects planned. We have kind of a holding pattern right now on our remodel. We're waiting on the resources necessary to get the flooring. So we're taking this opportunity to kind of get caught up on some of what we've been ignoring around the property. There's a lot of work that needs to be done before we head into wintertime. And tonight we're just going to walk around and take a look at some of the projects we need to work on. One of the areas we did not focus on this summer, though we had intended to, was firewood. So this is just some leftover wood from last year, and we certainly can burn it, but we've been so busy on the remodel trying to get moved into the other house that we haven't really done anything about firewood. And the other mobile home is not quite as well insulated. We were hoping to be able to get the remodel finished to get moved in before the snow falls, and we didn't succeed in that. So we're going to be looking for ways to possibly augment this stack. That amount of wood that's there now is only going to get us for 4 or 5 days. That's not a whole lot of wood there. And all of these poles in the front, we need to get the bark pulled off of those and get those prepared for used as fence posts. So we don't want to burn up those resources. We want to hang on to those. One of the other things that's happened while we've been busy inside is these asters have gotten out of control. We didn't do anything about them last year, and the seeds spread, and now we've got them everywhere. We need to get in here and knock these back, get them cut down, and let them dry out before those seeds start spreading out. So that's another project we need to do. I've already done it inside the chicken yard, but we need to do it here on the outside of the fence.
These are my herbs, and I don't know if they're going to perennialize here. I doubt it unless we protect them. So I might just let them go. We'll have to see. There's some pest pressure. Again, we have not been at this very much. And even though this has fabric underneath it, the weeds are coming through either way.
Yeah, they come up everywhere, don't they?
Yeah, but the one thing we want to do this year is this whole house is covered in algae. We've got to get this sprayed and get it off. And that's on the list.
So we've never used this product. It's called Wet It and Forget It. We hear lots of great things about it to remove the algae from the outside of a vinyl sided home like this. This stuff can be impossible to scrub off, but supposedly this stuff will just melt it away. So we
need to power wash it.
And probably both. We definitely need to power wash the stairs coming down here as well. But this is an area of garden that Marty really hasn't been able to spend any time with. And she's got a couple of really beautiful specimens in here. We just need to clean the bed up a little bit and get some more herbs in here. And y'all have seen us up on the porch, but you haven't really seen a lot of the front of the porch here. It also needs some attention. This lattice work has done, well, sort of a good job of keeping animals and critters from getting up underneath the porch. But it's seen better days. It needs to be replaced. So that's another project we're going to be looking at. The porch itself is in fairly good repair. I'm not real crazy about the way it was built, so it has some construction issues that we'll have to deal with sometime soon. I know one area that's of grave concern is this area up here above the roof or between the two roof lines, because when it rains, the rain just gets sucked straight through that little gap and it sprays out all over the porch. So definitely got to get that fixed. You notice also the underside of the porch has no sheeting, so all of the water that condenses on the underside of that metal when it's cool in the morning, like it is right now, ends up dripping down on top of things on the porch. So it kind of rains on there in the early morning. Another issue we'll have to deal with soon. But you can see what happens when we're able to spend a little bit of time. Marty put several days worth of work, actually several weeks worth of work, moving the rock and getting these plants in place here on the other side of the house, and everything looks beautiful. They're all growing extremely well. The elephant ear is probably going to dwarf the house next year. And this side of the house is looking nice already. We got to get the rest of it looking the same way.
Well, we're going to replace all this grass with gravel.
Right, so the grass is only there because Sunshine uses this yard. It's a good safe space for her to come out into. And now Saffron is using the yard as well. But we want to get gravel in down there. It's just easier to manage. It's difficult to get a mower or a weed eater in here. So the grass does not get cut often enough. We're just going to gravel that whole area. And then this is the area where we're going to put the silkies. So we need to expand this fencing out a little bit. Need to get rid of this old barrel, and then we're going to put the coop about where the barrel is. So that's approximately where the silkies are going to go in, so that they're down here with us. We'll be able to see them from the front porch. And they'll be readily accessible.
Look at all this garbage that looks like.
Yeah. You know, we've only been here 3 years. Obviously, we did not leave this barrel sitting here like this. But that mess has got to be cleaned up. We've been working a little bit on clearing this area above our leach lines. And y'all went with us while we cut these trees down. We had some 20-foot trees on top of this area. We got them all cut down. And just this last week, I was able to get in here with a hedge clipper and knock down all the suckers. One interesting fact that we've learned from all of our time homesteading is that cutting a tree down with a chainsaw doesn't kill it, and in some cases can actually cause it to grow even wilder than it did before. So you do have to come back behind your cutting and take down all the little saplings that will grow up behind the tree coming down. Plus, we're trying to collect the wood out of here. So Marty is looking at some designs for building arbors using this exact type of stuff, these long, straight tree trunks that we cut down. So we've got quite a few of those collected out already. There's still a few more buried up in here in the weeds that we need to get dragged out.
Our leach lines are right here, and in the state of Kentucky, where your septic tank is, does not have to have a spot to pump out. So we have got to find our septic tank up here. We have no clue where it's at, so that we can service that when it comes to it. They don't service tanks around here a whole lot. We're used to having them serviced every time you sell a home or every other year. I don't think this one's ever been serviced.
I don't think it's gotten a lot of use. In fact, I suspect that the septic tank was probably dry when we moved in. No one was staying in the home. And it's probably somewhere right in this area. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. We do need to get a probe and get in here and start shoving it through the dirt, see if we can find that thing. One other big project we won't get to this year is getting this oak tree down. I don't know how we're going to do that. It's not something I'm going to try to take down myself. I am not a lumberjack, and this tree is too big for me. We'll work on that another time.
We're going to have somebody climb it.
Yeah, we're going to have to take some of those top branches off before we can cut the tree down. And then this is the top of our low road. It's the one that goes down across the creek and gets us out to the lake. And this area is right out in front of the remodel that we're doing. And it's still got a lot of trees on it. Way too many trees for the safety of the house. These trees, although beautiful, are in very shallow soil. This is rocky terrain. There are exposed cliffs around here, and the rock is just below the surface. So these giant trees like this big maple just don't have a lot of soil depth. Not really sure how this maple has grown so big. And I hate to cut it down. We'd rather tap it, but we may have to take it down in the end. And you can also see back here a couple of large oak trees. Those are going to have to come off of there. They should not be growing on this hillside. It's just too shallow for them.
Oh, show 'em.
Yeah, let's go. We'll go down and have a look at this. And in cutting down those trees a couple weeks back, we did get some slightly larger trees that could be used for firewood or fence posts. I see a lot of really good fence posts laying right here though, so we're gonna need to get these trunks out of here, get the branches off of them, get those stored up.
These tulip poplars all have to go.
Yeah, you can see these suckers that have grown up where we took the trees down. They'll grow up right off of the stump, like happened right here. So the stump just sprouts additional branches and continues growing. So there's quite a few of those stumps in here. We're going to have to take it. So it's always interesting when we come out into the woods on these walks, we find all kinds of fascinating things that we weren't aware were here. Just a few minutes ago, we discovered a red mulberry tree growing wild out here. And this is a Japanese privet, which is often used as a decorative plant. Here in Kentucky, this is an invasive species. Yes. And it will go absolutely crazy, so we'll need to choke that out. And you can see our front porch right up there. So this is the other side of this area that we talk about all the time, right in front of the porch. You can see the size of this tree that needs to come out. And there's another large tree back in here that needs to come out as well. Those are oaks. And it looks like they're, 26, 27 inches across. So that's a significant tree to take down, especially on this steep hillside, because if we make a mistake in felling this tree, that's just a straight drop down to the creek. It's about another 40 feet down to the creek from the road here. So that's a significant drop off.
Plus they don't have any soil.
Now the soil depth here is almost nothing. There's very little here to hold that tree up. The fact that it's lived as long as it has is pretty amazing. And I don't want that falling on our house, so we're going to have to get that cleared out of there. Hopefully I can cause it to fall along the hillside, and that way it won't go down the hill too far.
Yeah.
And from this vantage point on the road, you can see that the leaves are starting to fall. So we've got a thin layer of brown leaves all over the ground already. And this year, we don't want to waste all of these leaves. We've been just leaving them behind, letting them decompose here in the forest. But we need mulch, and that's a hard thing to come by here in Kentucky for some reason. We don't have a composter in town, so we can't get compost. And all of the mulch seems to be coated in clay and other chemicals that prevent it from deteriorating, and we want it to break down. That's where we get our good soil from. So we're just going to use leaf mulch. We'll pick it up out here. We've got about 2 miles of roads that we can pick it up off of, and everything around the edges of the roads could also be cleaned up. So that's where we'll get our mulch to take care of the garden this year.
As you can see, all the trees are just growing on top of the rock.
Yeah, you can see how close that rock is to the surface of the soil. There's not a lot of depth there. Most of the trees have some roots that are exposed because they grew out on top of the rocks. So we'll have to get these trees off of the rocks where we can. And that's going to make this a much more interesting drive when you can actually see the rock overhang and the cliff. It's going to make this a whole lot more interesting coming down here. Our property out in Nevada was completely flat, so we didn't have any interesting geological features there. So being here in Kentucky and just having a feature like this on our property is pretty cool. It's exciting, really. So this is the sort of thing we want to get up the hill and into our gardens. This log has been down here for, I don't know, 7, 8 years. It's like a big sponge. The moss is now taken over. It has had turkey tail mushrooms on it, as well as some other mushroom varieties that have grown out of it. And right now it's just kind of helping to keep the water running down the ditch and preventing it from running out across the road. But when this thing rots completely, that's going to make some of the best soil imaginable for growing vegetables or any kind of beautiful plants in. And that's why we want these leaves up in the garden. So to give you some idea of the problem we're facing with trees, this tree is visible from the front porch. Now, it happens that this one is below the cliff, and the cliff is definitely tall enough to prevent it from hitting the house, but you can see the condition of the roots here. There's just not enough depth of soil for these trees to survive long term. And every little bit of erosion exposes more of the roots. This one is definitely not long for the world. That's going to need to come down in the next few months if we're not going to let it go down on its own. And then this poplar behind it is another massive tree. What do you figure that is? Height estimate.
About 70 feet.
So that's about right. So this poplar is straight as an arrow, straight up. Because it grew below the cliff, it had to grow up tall and straight quickly in order to get to the sun. And it's made for a beautiful trunk. I wish we had a sawmill. We'd make use of this, turn it into lumber. Not sure what we'll do with it once we get it on the ground, but it does need to come down. The top of this tree could do damage to the house if it fell.
Look at that one. So that one right there is actually splitting the rock. And it's just sitting on, what, a foot of soil?
Mm-hmm.
And that's right in front of the house.
This is one of the large oak trees that's right in front of the house. And you can see not only is it growing on the cliff, right near the edge, but it's also growing kind of in a crack in the rock. And so I'm a little concerned about this giant oak tree up there actually splitting the rock open. Kind of looks like that may already be happening, so I'd kind of like to get that tree down and see if we can't stop the suckers and kill the roots off pretty quickly. All these other smaller trees will be easy to cut off of the rock, no big deal. So that's a lot of work that's coming up. I doubt we'll get to it during the winter time. We'll probably wait till spring to do any serious cutting down here. Just some work we got to get to. Well, we're losing sunlight, especially down here below the cliff. It's already turning dark down here in the woods, and we kind of expected that. There's not a lot of time left when I get home from work right now, and that happens every year about this time. So we're running out of time that I can get effective work done at the end of the day. And so that's why there's been a little bit of a slowdown in the videos coming out. There's just not a lot of time to get the work done. But we did want to share with you that we are still alive and well. We're still working. We're still planning. We're still growing, trying to figure out how best for us to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. We do appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead. We do hope you'll come back again. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that now. While you've got the window open, hit that thumbs up button so the algorithm knows you enjoyed the video and they'll share it out with more people. And we'll see you next time.